Obviously, thank you to all three of you for joining us today to talk about The Apprentice, which is a slightly strange topic that I've never really spoken to about before. But put a post up on LinkedIn and it's got over 400,000 views, which is somehow taken over Wyn Jones's viral masterpiece of is it Miro or Miro, which was I don't know if you remember those hazy days, Wyn.
Yeah, my 10 seconds of fame on social media.
Yes. How was it?
Amazing. Yeah. I basically posed a question just randomly one lunchtime. Is it Miro or Miro with like 3 E's or 3 Y's? Just trying to get how we pronounce it because everyone's going to go, is it Miro or Miro? Forgot about it. And I got home at like 8 o'clock and there was something insane like 5,000 likes and
nice. Yeah.
And then they actually clarified it. And then I had to clarify that I was Wyn and how I pronounced Wyn because it's obviously a Welsh name. And But of all that marketing kind of hit, I got a Miro baseball hat and some socks.
Oh, nice.
I was like,
see, does that mean you have to put paid for ad on that post now in partnership with?
Bit of passive income for you.
Yeah, so it's officially Miro, in case anyone was wondering.
Good stuff. Well, we like to educate here at Design Truth, but what it was a big eye opener for was the fact that people somehow watched The Apprentice, which I thought was just generally quite interesting. Wyn, Paul, have you watched it recently?
Yes, I do watch it kind of from behind the sofa.
Okay,
it's quite difficult to watch, but my wife loves watching it, and she loves watching me watching it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's very common, isn't it?
yeah. But yes, I do watch it, but it is quite painful, and I've got to the point where I'm comfortable with the fact that it's painful now.
Okay,
I don't think it's real life anymore. So
there's been 16 seasons, so we've all had practice now.
I think I've also come to the terms like it's entertainment and it's here to provoke and it's here to get reactions. So I'm very, very conscious of that as well, even though it pretty much goes against every design and entrepreneurial principle that I've got.
Yeah.
I just realised that I haven't actually introduced either of you, which is a really poor start to the podcast. I do apologise, but Paul, as you're a new voice here,
yes,
feel free to introduce yourself to our 5 listeners in Azerbaijan or whatever.
Okay, yeah. I'm Paul Robbins. I run Product Resolutions, industrial design / product design consultancy. Been doing this for, we are 22 years old this year. Before that, I was based in Hong Kong, working out there in the 90s, in the early days of China manufacturing. And that's all linked up to what we do now. And we work in a broad field, including toothbrushes.
And that's why we brought you on, to be our expert of all things toothbrushes. And we've also brought on Adam, who was one of the lucky designers, should we say, on the show, because the fact that you weren't anywhere near Whiffy the Wizard.
That is true. I am thankful for that, to be fair. Got the girls team, which was good. But yeah, it was weird. It was going from being a product designer to kind of focusing on doing a load of graphics for people and not being able to help them in any way. Just being told what to do and just find every single urge in my body not to give them any hints. To be fair, the director did. He had a word a few times and said, stop giving them a nudge. So that was fun. It was good.
Yeah. How does it all work then? I take it your boss comes to you one day and says, "We're doing The Apprentice this year."
That was it. Yeah. He kind of sent an email around, kind of who's interested. Obviously, everyone had their reservations at the start, because we've all seen it before and seen how designers get portrayed. Because you normally end up a meme or kind of a concerned face screen grab somewhere, which did happen to me and a few other designers. So there you go. But he kind of sent an email and then it was just so much preparation just to make sure we got it right. Just lots of people practicing different processes and how we can do it all as quickly as possible, and make sure we had all the right templates and assets set up so that when the guys turned up, we just did it as flawlessly as we could, because they cram it in. The day is long, from right through till 3-4 in the morning. But yeah, that's kind of just, it turned up on our doorstep, and it was a good opportunity.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. It looked. I'll leave the link to a video Innovate did on our description somewhere. Yep. There's a great video that you guys put up just explaining the process really, and it was striking just how, I don't know what you guys thought, Paul and Wim, but just striking how time intensive it was, and that was a big thing that kind of struck me.
I think I really enjoyed the video. It's a bit like a response video,
yeah,
wasn't it? It was like this is what really happened.
Yeah.
And what actually surprised me completely was how real the project is in terms of the work that the Innovate guys did. In terms of, I mean, I never expected they would actually develop electronics for it, and I kind of thought all that would be, fake. This is what we would want it to be if it existed. Yeah. So the fact that you actually did all that work is really fascinating. And it's kind of, I kind of wish I wish that in the program, the Apprentice, they would set it up a bit better and say, in their intro, we've had a team of engineers and designers working on preparing for this, and now these guys are going to go in and do the marketing and pitching side of it, and that's a shame.
And I mean, we wish that happened too, to be fair.
Yeah, but the fact that I always say to my wife, they never make that overnight. That's impossible. They can't do that overnight because obviously in real life it's impossible. But watching your video and seeing how you prepare for it, I can see how it does actually happen. So I was almost quite pleased that they really do it overnight in some ways, and it isn't a fake overnight.
Like what's that show? It was on ITV, 60-minute makeover, whatever it was.
Yeah, I knew you were going there.
And they do your house in an hour or something. They pop over for the lunch break and they come back and I've got a new kitchen, new bathroom. Wasn't quite like that.
No. The filler isn't even dry after that.
Yeah, exactly. What were your kind of main takeaways? I remember you sent me a text message about 20 minutes in, going, "I think this is painful." I think was your text message. What were your kind of main takeaways from the show, from your lens as a design leader, I guess?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And I think I do really appreciate the video that was posted. I think it was good to kind of understand what was involved. But I think it was interesting to see get it all done in 2 days and the turnaround of everything. So I think the main thing I talk about is that you can deliver something. And one thing I have got a question is was there actual 10,000 unit order? Because I find that quite hard to believe, to be honest with you.
I honestly, I wish that we actually knew the answer to that question, but I can't imagine it is. But the way when you watch how everything's filmed and how the day kind of pans out, you can kind of see how they're prepared to kind of almost have a direction they can go depending on the feedback they get later on from the retailers and people like that. So if the girls team's feedback's bad, because it's not like both projects blew people away, so they don't really know until that moment. So if the girls teams are bad, you can kind of see they've filmed stuff in preparation to see that they're going to go down that route and kind of pick out all of that stuff. So I don't know how it works with the market orders thing, but I can imagine they can easily switch that if the girls design something worse than a turd. So luckily they didn't.
So they're almost set up for failure. In a
it does feel like that way sometimes. Yeah.
The failure side is much more fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Look at us. We've designed this new groundbreaking toothbrush, and we're quitting the Apprentice because we've just come up with this groundbreaking new idea for toothbrushes, and we've got 4.5 million orders. But in terms of the actual day there, Adam, it'd be good if you just give us a bit of a rundown of what actually.
The day.
Well,
like I said,
pre-day, and obviously, on the day itself.
Yeah.
What's the rundown?
Pre-day was, like I said, so much practicing and trying to get things right. The toothbrush itself, like you were saying, Paul, it is actually properly working, and we had kind of separate team looking at how we could get that to work and fit the electronics in, and develop that so it then worked with the app. We did practices for the practices were amazing. We produced some really nice, you can see in the video we posted some really nice toothbrushes and some great apps that worked amazingly.
Just what it could have looked like.
That's true, but and I think that's testament to kind of showing how in all our practices, it was one individual sat there kind of telling us what to do, what they wanted, and that everything turned out nicer, because it's just one opinion. And then you can see when you're on The Apprentice, you had sort of 8 contestants all trying to get their idea in and push in front of it, one or the other, and argue, and so you could have the most important impact on the app. So kind of cross paths, and then you end up with a disaster almost. But all the practices went well, and we did weeks of work in the lead up, and then on the day we were just sat there kind of anxiously in the morning waiting for them to turn up in their black fancy cab thing, and they come in, they do 10 or 12 shots of them walking through the door, and then it's kind of like action stations, sit down. It's quite interesting, really. They give the contestants loads of direction of exactly what they're going to do, where they're going to sit, who they're going to talk to, what the rundown of the brief is, and they give us nothing. So as a designer, I'm just sat there. Some guy came and popped a mic on me, and then I'm put in front of the camera, and they're like, action, and then the camera's swiveling on my face, and all these contestants are knowing when to talk and what to say, and I didn't have a clue. So it's quite funny, really. They kind of, obviously the focus is on the contestants, but I wasn't expecting to. I don't think any of us were expecting to be that heavily shown on camera. I wish I had a little bit more guidance with that from the directors.
How did you find that kind of working under pressure in that kind of very much focused environment? Obviously I don't think the camera was filming your every move, but was it the sense of you've got these team of, I think there was like 3 or 4 in that session with you, and they were directing you? I mean, it's a very alien situation for a kind of a client to be essentially on your shoulder, telling you exactly what to do.
It does happen in real life sometimes.
Sometimes it does, yeah. But I like to avoid that, to be honest. I like it when the client comes in, you have a great chat and discuss everything. But you don't want someone sat over your shoulder shooting ideas at you and telling you what to do, and with a massive camera in your face as well. I mean, it was there the whole time. And obviously, I know they're going to take a second of that, but I don't want to look like an idiot for 1 second, because they might include that, and they did. So that was brilliant. It was a bit surreal. But in terms of how did it feel? What was it like? You kind of, the adrenaline just carried you through. I was like, right, I've got to do this. I've only got one shot. They tell you what to do. It's so fast paced. The contestants as well. They were all really nice people, all of them, all of the crew, or all the guys there, everyone really nice, but you can tell it's a tight schedule. It's like, make a decision now. And it's like, do you want that graphic or that graphic? And they were like, I want that one. And in my head, I'm like, that's a shame. But at the same time, you kind of understand, in order to fit so much into an episode and into 2 days to get everything done, you have to appreciate that it is going to be quick decisions, unlike the sort of 6 or 9 month process you'd normally spend going back and forth with things. But we needed to get things sorted pretty quickly on our end, so that the app developer could actually code everything and get that sorted before, like I said, sort of 3 or 4 in the morning. And then 3D printers, of course, need time to actually make the toothbrush and get that there. So it was all very time pressured, and so I think there was no time to worry about what you were doing. You just had to get on with it.
You were on the brushing star, right? Not the wizard.
With the
yes, yeah.
And so I'm just looking at the so I'm assuming that was kind of using one of those kind of like J750 printers, so the color printers. So were you, kind of getting all technical now, Brad, but like, were you kind of designing a graphic and it was then wrapped as a print? Or what was the kind of product design process in getting those specific graphics in the 3D print in those colors?
That's a good question. I didn't work on the 3D print itself. However, in terms of the process, I know that the model was CADed, and the colors are added to the CAD model into the 3D software. And if you send, when we had the finished product that the contestants were happy with, that gets sent with all the colors on the CAD model in 3D. And the 3D printers are great. They're amazing. They kind of just take that model with the colors, and they know what they're doing.
I think it's a bit like a decal effect that they do on those on those Stratasys. Stratus printers, powder-based system, isn't it?
Like I think it was like the Z Corp back in the day that was quite cheap.
Yeah, that's it.
The Stratus ones came out with some ones that, you know, you could actually put a, they do trainers, and it looks like a leather trainer. You know, decent, but pretty expensive. But, you know, it's quite effective. I'm looking at the images of it now, and it's cracking little first prototype, isn't it? Or sorry, production.
Final production turd.
And there were, you know, there's things that kind of there were you plan for everything to be perfect, but there were still some errors. Like there was still an error with the name that the contestants chose. It was like copyrighted, so we were kind of panicking, 3D printing extra parts like 2 hours before, and the guys there were great. They got it sorted and glued it on, and you can't tell on TV, but yes.
Yeah, we had a few Instagram questions actually on the topic of The Apprentice, and one of them was obviously you're not allowed to help in any way, but what direction or guidance can you give if they come up with something that's just not manufacturable?
I think we had license to like you said, if they suggested something that was just not going to be possible, and it was usually not possible because of the time we had, that was usually why. Then I was allowed to say no. I mean, it wasn't added to the film or anything. We also had the app developer was kind of hovering behind my computer out of shot, and anytime they were like, you know, can we have the stars come in and fly around here and start glowing and all of this stuff, I just see him, you know, sweating and shaking his head. So I knew to kind of cut that out straight away. But yeah, we were allowed license for that. But anything design decision based graphics, I couldn't say anything. Yeah, not even color.
And if anyone's listening that's not actually watched The Apprentice before, and you're wondering what on earth are we actually talking about, I actually watched it for a second time about an hour ago, just to kind of, you know, reconfirm my fears. And there's anything from Alan Sugar being a tooth fairy to a dabbing tooth, to someone saying that isn't the wizard meant to be more chunky, which I thought was quite interesting, that all wizards are meant to be slightly overweight.
I thought the wizard looked like the guy whose idea it was. The guy that went out, I can't remember his name, but
that's the thing. It wasn't memorable. Was it?
Yeah. It looked like a self-portrait wizard. It was very strange.
Yeah, and then there was the PM who said, "I've never designed anything in my life, but I've got 2 kids." And those are kind of a couple of quotes that really kind of gravitated to me when watching it. But it just shows, Win, I suppose, the power and validity, I suppose, of that creative thinking. You know, when you actually take that away, it does. I know it's for entertainment purposes, but it does kind of highlight, if you put design in the wrong hands, just what happens at the end of it.
Yeah, it's I mean, I was chatting with someone earlier about it, and it kind of emphasizes to me sometimes when someone has to market something a lot, is because sometimes the product design isn't that good, and I feel that that's kind of the pitch they have to put across. And I think they even lied in the pitch. I think they said like 50% of their target demographic or something, which is basically one little boy out of 2 little boys had said.
Terrible.
And to me, it's kind of going, well, there's no integrity there, is it? And it's all lies. And then, you know, I did heard, you know, allegedly had an order. I'm going, man, no wonder there's so much rubbish in the world. If you can just basically, doesn't matter what you make, what you design, how you design, as long as you pitch it and you convince it, and essentially, you know, trick people into doing it, it's kind of going, well, that's probably why we've got a lot of, you know, plastic in the sea and various other ecological problems. this much rubbish. But I don't know. Because I understand it was all entertainment, but it was
did it take
really provocative at the same time.
Yeah. Did it take you back to your agency days, Win, at all, in terms of, or was it?
We had a few projects. I think when Lord of the Rings came out, we had Hogwarts. What are they called? Hobbit's Feet. Some guy went to come in. You can't
get Hogwarts and Lord of the Rings mixed up. That's a cardinal sin.
Very dangerous.
And I think also as well that, you know, it's people who think they've got a need for a product, and then they haven't done a simple kind of bit of market research, and then you have to kill their dreams when they come in and they think they've made a cottage industry for their grandkids, and they come in and you just go, oh, I'm really sorry, but just gonna go to Google and just do some searches, because but it's part and parcel of the process, isn't it? I'm sure. Paul.
Yeah, you must be on the face of that still, Paul. Sometimes.
Yeah, we get. We get a lot of inventors, entrepreneurs, for want of a better word, that come and see us, and we always try and be quite honest with them if we think it's a terrible idea, because there's nothing worse than someone blowing their life savings on something that is not going to happen. But equally, sometimes they do work and they do make their way through. One, we did a product a couple of years ago. It was a cycling product, and the guy came to see us, and he'd made a prototype from various bits of plastic glued together. It was called Rehook. It's for putting the chain back onto your bike if your chain came off. And at the time we were like, oh, are people going to want that? And then we did it, and it came out really nice, actually. And he ended up on Dragon's Den, and he got funded by Deborah Meaden, and now it's a real company. We did the second version of it, and they've now got other products in their range. And so that started as his little lunchtime thing he was doing. The first products were 3D printed, and he sold them as 3D printed parts, and then it went to an injection molded part and things. So it does happen, but equally you get people that they use the terms that you hear in the Apprentice and things like this. So say, I want you to make me a prototype, and they think that there's nothing between the prototype appearing and them coming in to see you. It's like, that's when you have to say, well, we need to design it, and who's your customer, and we need to build the CAD model, and then we can do a 3D print for you. But there's a lot that happens in between that, and I think that's the bit that I feel sorry for, like the public perception of Adam's team. there's just this, like, some graphics on a page, and then the product arrives the next morning, and there's stuff that happens in between. So, but people do have that in their head, and I think the Apprentice and Dragon's Den have got a lot to answer for in that regard. And it's not all bad stuff. It does put innovation and ideas and inventing things in people's minds, and it's amazing how many people go to the point of coming to see an agency to actually discuss their idea.
Yeah, but more is it more leaning more towards the positive or more towards the negative in terms of the influence that those programs have on the profession?
I think there is a certain amount of, there's no such thing as bad publicity in some respects, because at least you have the opportunity to sit down with them and then correct them on what is wrong. But I do think it's brought a lot more people out. When Dragon's Den and things like that started, we saw a clear increase in individuals coming to see us and actually approaching us as a company, whereas I think previously they would have been scared to approach a product development design agency, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's sort of brought more people to the surface, but equally you do, for probably every 10 people that come to see us that are inventors, let's say, we probably end up working with maybe 2 of them, because the other 8 we tell them to keep their money and don't remortgage the house. Because some of them want to do that.
I suppose one of the main reasons why you go on The Apprentice is the exposure. I mean, I didn't realise this, but 4.6 million people actually watch The Apprentice. It's
crazy.
It's actually is although I personally think it's a slightly outdated format. It's as popular now as it was back 5-6 years ago. People do tune in and watch it. One of the main reasons I'd imagine an agency wants to get involved is that exposure. Millions of people can see your flashy design studio. How's it been over the last week? Out of inquiries coming through, have you seen the positive?
It's been good, yeah. I think luckily, because The Apprentice has been running for so long, that people are I think they're kind of wiser to the fact that there's not so much the designers can actually do when it comes to trying to prevent a contestant designing a turd. So I do feel like, because I was kind of sat there scrolling through Twitter and stuff and looking at all the social media, and you kind of see there's now a lot of sympathy for some of the designers that are kind of, you do get the odd people that, like you said, they don't understand necessarily all the effort and work that goes into a normal process, and but I think in general, the kind of the public are starting to become wiser to, like I said, designers are actually, they don't have any say, and it's all contestants, it's all great TV. So it's good that we can at least get ourselves out there. And like I said, the video that we've got on the website kind of shows the process in a lot more detail and what we actually have to go through, which is a great way of getting people to understand how we can help them. There's so much stuff that wasn't shown on TV as well. I know that the app that I worked on with the girls, they had a whole kind of story as to how you use it, and on so the app itself was like this planet idea they came up with asteroids that were kind of hitting the planet from different directions, and as they appeared from different directions, you'd brush in that direction to kind of brush them away from the planet, to stop your planet from being destroyed. But obviously they don't say any of that on TV. They just show them brushing the air randomly next to them, like not properly at all, and then confusion and kind of portray it that way. But it's been a good week. We've had we've had a lot more kind of people interested and stuff. So I think it's definitely benefited us.
Brilliant. Well, that's the main thing, isn't it? That's what we all want to hear. I was quite surprised, actually, just as I suppose a non-designer talking here. At first, it took me about half an hour to try and get into the mind of a 6 to 8 year old. I was just like, what on earth, what on earth does a 6 to 8 year old actually do? I mean, I don't have children, is that too young for them? And it just kind of made me think of such the variety of projects obviously come through your, Paul, in that agency world that comes through your door. It must just be really hard sometimes to be like, I've got absolutely no understanding what is this about.
That they did a kind of focus group after
right at the end,
to get the feedback, and obviously we've all got a mobile phone in our hands, and you could Google, toys, look at Argos catalogue, whatever you need to do to get that inspiration. And
they don't have the catalogue anymore, Win.
Sorry?
They don't have the catalogue anymore.
Don't they? Oh, gosh. Those days of opening up magazine that you're going to have. And
corner on the page.
I was just kind of going, well, you could have asked those kids what, it's almost like, how do you feel when you brush your teeth? Do you hate it? What are your experiences around it? And trying to craft that brief then around the feelings that they like, and how often do you do it? Do you do it thoroughly? Do you think you do it well? And trying to craft that kind of a bit of a brief, and then start thinking of some ideas based upon that. But I was surprised there's a little bit of market research and a little bit of user research there. But again, I think it's not a design process in the show, is it? It's an entertainment process that you're running with.
It's because in the real world you do exactly what you said. You look at what other things a 6 to 8 year old is buying, but also how they feel about brushing their teeth. Most of them probably don't want to do it, and they don't do it for 2 minutes because they pretend they do. I mean, I've got one of my kids is 18 and he still pretends he's brushed his teeth when he hasn't. And he's it's like does he
need Wi-Fi? Does he need Wi-Fi? The wizard?
He probably does. But it is that, how do you give a 6 to 8 year old the incentive to go upstairs and brush their teeth without being told to? Is probably the key to it. How you can make them want to go and do it. But any product, you do have to kind of put yourself in the user's position, the end user's position in terms of age and all that kind of thing. But the other challenge is balancing that in a real world scenario, is balancing that with your customers as well, because your customer and your end user aren't the same people, and keeping both of those people happy is, plus a buyer in the middle of all that is that's the challenge.
It's all the crazy assumptions as well, isn't it? I think everyone was saying or we've got kids. A lot of the contestants were saying we've got kids and etc. But I think it was also, understanding those 6 to 8 year olds alike. And, most 3-year-olds can operate an iPad these days. So, so it's almost kind of going, I guess both concepts were essentially kind of gamifying the teeth cleaning process. But it could have actually been like, educational, or I don't know, some kind of reward process with their parents or something. So I think the constant themes that could have been explored, but
earn pocket money by doing it or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just found interesting that in those brainstorming, they just kind of, no one's writing anything down. There's no sketches. There's not even in the corny post-it notes. It was kind of, it's just going, what do you think about that? I think about this. And then how dominating the PM is in that situation, which is a project manager, which is a weird title for that person, but how dominating they are in those groups and where they don't listen to anybody else. But yeah, anyway.
Was that what it was like, Adam, as you were sat there?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell they all want to take credit for the main part of the idea, whatever that is. So they've all got their own ideas. I actually felt sorry for Shama on there. She and they're all lovely people when I was talking to them and stuff as well. But I think she said that because there's always someone that's like, I've got kids, so they think they know everything. You know, they're like, I've got kids, so I can assume I know what all kids will like and what all parents will like. But that's not always going to be the case. And Shama said that she was, I believe she used to work with children, or she had a nursery or something. So
that's right.
With the nursery. So you get the sense she would probably have a better understanding of the variety that kids can kind of love and want. And I certainly think that kind of the girls really benefit from her having her on the team, because they didn't blindside half their audience and just go down the male route like the guys did, which I thought was a bit strange. And also I think the girls did a great job in just blindly agreeing to any changes whatsoever with the retailers. As soon as the guys said we're sticking with the turd color, as soon as that happened, like I think everything was off the table.
Sure,
so,
you want the turd.
Yeah, bless him. I think he was trying to go for the Nimbus, wasn't he, or whatever the Harry Potter
he
was. He's obviously just recently watched the Chamber of Secrets and was like, right, that's what all wands are like. Sorry, Rim, was you going to say something?
Breaking news that Shama Amin is a full name. She's actually quit the show today.
Oh, no way.
She's fuming. She's absolutely fuming.
That is interesting.
Yeah, apparently she's got health conditions.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I think the show was physically demanding, in inverted commas.
So is it still? Is it
interesting?
I presume it was filmed a while ago, though. So
There's I don't know what was meant to be portrayed, but our episode was filmed a while ago. I don't know.
When like before Christmas?
maybe she goes next week or something, and
like 5 or 6 months ago, I think. Something like that.
Oh, was that long ago?
Yeah, because I think because of COVID and stuff, everything's been a bit different process for them.
Do you get to influence on the brief itself? Do they just come to you and just say the word teeth, or do you have much influence on
at the start or on the day, or
just at the very start when the apprentice say, right, we're doing something? Who's the person that goes, we're doing teeth?
They come to us, right. And they specified what they wanted to see, and then we did lots of practicing and stuff to show them how things might turn out, and then they'll come back and be like, we don't want to include that, we just want an app, and then suddenly it's like, can we also do a prototype along with it, and then we develop the prototype. So a lot of back and forth to make sure that the episode can actually they can fit everything in it, and it can be a good kind of entertaining episode for them.
Interesting.
But we knew everything on the day. We knew what we were gonna have, just didn't know the specifics, I guess.
Yeah, try not to laugh, but my idea within the allotted time and watching it was a toothbrush brand called Calcium.
Yeah,
and
nice.
Then the toothbrush was linked to the ocean cleanup. So when you're brushing your teeth, it was reducing plastic bottles in the ocean. That was my idea within the time frame.
I think
it's very on trend.
And I thought Greta would love that one, wouldn't she?
She would. Greta would, but I'm not sure a 6 to 8 year old would be that interested.
No, but they would be, wouldn't they?
They might be. They would. I mean, I definitely think pocket money is the way to go.
Probably. You can tell I don't have a 6 to 8 year old, can't you? I'm just thinking youngsters love atom bread, don't they, and all that kind of stuff.
But that would be a better angle than the.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you for not laughing.
I also think it would have been a better angle, considering they kind of they got 5 kids in a room, and they brushed over that fairly quickly, and more of it was the opinions of the retailers and the marketers and stuff, and everyone in the boardroom. or just having a look at the hideous things they designed. So I think, I think your
we-
idea might have been all right.
Yeah, maybe. So I'm not editing that one out, Win, believe it or not. I'm keeping that one in. Your idea would have gone down when that makes the edit. Moving away from The Apprentice, one of the striking things just from the post actually on LinkedIn was just the people that have started viewing profile, interact with it and stuff. A lot of them are non-designers, which is a bit I found quite interesting. So obviously aware of The Apprentice, they watch it, they laugh at it or whatever, or as my mum goes, I can do a much better job than that, so hopefully I can get her on the next season of The Apprentice. That'd be a barrel of laughs. But it was just striking just how wide that audience has just who've engaged with that post. Just in terms of we've mentioned in quite a few episodes now, probably in the 90s. I don't know when was the show with Seymour Powell that was on Channel 4?
Yeah, I went in a YouTube rabbit hole looking for those, and
there's one with a wing.
Yeah, late 90s. I ended up watching the Razor one.
Yeah.
The bin as well. The bin's on there as well, and
shopping trolley, airport trolley. Maybe it was.
That's it.
Shopping
I
trolley.
think IDEO did a shopping trolley.
Yeah,
and that kind of inspired. I mean, obviously, Drew was on the podcast when we were asking, what got you into design? It was watching, those two designing shopping trolleys on Channel 4. Better by Design. Yeah. Have you got any other examples of good? I suppose of how, in terms of how design has been portrayed on the telly. Anyone caught the Netflix stuff?
I found that today, and now that is on my list to watch. I saw a bit of the. Because there are some different design disciplines. There's an interior.
It's not just product,
footwear. I think I watched a bit of one of the automotive stories, and that looks really interesting. And I think it's a really difficult one because actually watching the Seymour Powell one about the Razor, although the process is much more accurate in terms of what you go through, and they showed them sketching ideas and brainstorming and that, but the way it was portrayed is, I think they were working with Boots from that early stage, and that doesn't really happen. You don't go to Boots and say, we're going to come up with a new Razor, and they say, yeah, okay. So the kind of but I suppose they have to do that, because otherwise you wouldn't know if they came in here tomorrow and said, right, we're going to follow a project, you don't know where it's going to go and if it will ever come to fruition. So it's difficult, but the Netflix one looks interesting. That looks really well made. And then there was, I think, the other series, which is not really, it's not as much design, but there's the ones that they talk about how products are made and things that
inside the factory, for example.
Those kind of things. I think they're really good, because at least they show stuff that actually
I use them all
the
the
work
time.
that goes into the work that goes into even if it's making a biscuit, but there's been some about, I think there's one on JCBs recently as well. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges they have is the kind of the entertainment that comes with it. Like, if you made a show for designers, I'm sure we'd all love it, right? And
yes,
like there's some of these like really slow arts on BBC4 where you'll see like a sculptor, and it's just literally watching this guy sculpt something for half an hour. And any of these types of things, they're brilliant, because you're basically interested in the process, the craft, and those types of things. But I think, when I think of two other TV shows, there's one that Brandon, how do you say his surname? Brandon Guian, is it? How the Australian chap? Sorry,
Gene, isn't it? Like Billie Jean.
He started one in Australia, but that was very much, here's a problem, here's a solution. Like
it was by design,
something like that. Because within a half an hour show, they've done 5 projects. Which is, I found this.
Are they the one-off solutions for a particular person, aren't they?
Yeah, or even if they are scaled, they're still not showing the development process. And I think that's the thing that's it's maybe not entertaining enough. I mean, even if you think about grand designs, obviously buildings, they still very little show you the kind of pre-build. It's kind of going, here's a design with some jazzy animated 3D build, and then it's straight into the build and all of the hassles that come with that. But I just don't know whether or not it would be entertaining, or again, if you'd have, like, I don't know, multiple projects, and you got a camera team coming in, I don't know, every month just to see how a 2-year project is coming along or something.
Yeah.
I just don't know how the practicalities of it works, but yeah, you feel like it needs to be shown so people could understand it, and then designers would get more time and more money to be able to explore those things, because most of the time people are kind of going, well, that guy for telly, he just had a problem and he came up with the solution straight away. Which is an engineering mindset, not a design mindset.
Why do you need 3 weeks to come up with an idea for me?
I think if I even go back to like before I even got into design, even if I go back to when I was a kid and I used to sit and watch those shows with my parents and things like Grand Designs and stuff, you do as a general public, I think, just want to see what something looks like, and now what it looks like at the end when it looks amazing, you know, just going from the worst thing to the best thing or an idea to it being made. So maybe it's not, like you said at the start, not entertaining enough to include the whole process.
I think one thing it does do is it makes it a little bit, it doesn't really show how the process can be therefore learned, because you understand what it is. I think it comes across like I don't know, like you are a wizard, okay? Wizard's the word of the podcast here, right? That you're someone who can just come up with an idea and it's genius. Someone just come up with an idea and it's like, no. Like, it needs to show all the research, how you combine various elements of those research and how you pull those concepts together. I think it's kind of making design a little bit too like a magic idea, some divine intervention, rather than all the pain that goes with it. Well, no, it's not pain, but all the long hours and thinking.
It's difficult. On one hand, you can think it does devalue it in some respects, but then I think that anything that brings the idea of people having ideas into the mainstream is a good thing. But yeah, I think it'd be difficult. I mean, I'd sit and watch a program of someone sketching some ideas and then taking it into CAD, and then the SolidWorks crashing just when they've to a really good point, and then all that, and then slagging the clients off when they're not in the office, and all of that would make quite good TV. But I don't know. I think it might be preaching to the very small design bubble that we live in.
One thing is interesting. Have either of you three guys heard of Mr. Beast?
Yeah,
yes.
I've heard of him. Yeah,
Mr. Beast.
I only found out about him the other day, but apparently he makes like 30 million quid a year off YouTube or something.
Oh, yeah.
So he just took some crazy stuff. My point being is what is TV is the question, right? So is TV, is YouTube? They've already pulled the pin on BBC's license fee yesterday. So what is TV? Netflix and Amazon, I think, is more than all the terrestrial broadcast watched hours of the last year. So you kind of go, what is TV? So therefore, maybe YouTube is TV.
The TV,
for us to get direct to people who want to watch it, like designers, but globally. Is it rather being restricted to a British terrestrial network? It's maybe looking further apart via a global.
But you see how popular like unboxing videos are and things like that. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? I mean, but they're like all of I mean, the Apple unboxings from when Apple first started doing iPads and stuff like that. The unboxing videos were brilliant. People are really interested in those sort of things, and there's kids that make a fortune out of doing unboxing and reviewing products and stuff. And you're right. Maybe it's a sort of nerdy design YouTube.
There has to be a viewership base of sorts, even if they're just a wider interest in tech, for example.
I think there's quite a big because I watch a lot of YouTube for a lot of design stuff, not just for job. Like you were saying about the how it's made videos and stuff earlier. I watch those all the time. Speaking of toothbrushes, that was kind of the first one I looked at, and how is a toothbrush made and how they kind of put all the bristles into a toothbrush and stuff. It's pretty cool. But people you can kind of get into a loop of watching all of those things and like, wow, this is like how they make chains and like bend it's such a simple thing, but it can be like quite a pleasurable thing to see and quite almost satisfying people's OCD and things like that. But there's quite a lot of kind of YouTube channels with design and stuff coming out that have a big audience, whether it's things like, why aren't you riding your bike properly? Like, how does your bike actually work and things like that. And I think that's like you said, maybe it's moving away from television. and you can see the bigger process.
Yeah, flipping.
Just talking about bristles. Talk about toothbrush bristles.
Yeah,
this is really boring, but with bristles, there's 3 different levels of bristle you can have.
Yeah.
So your basic like airport toothbrusher, they're just chopped.
Yeah.
Then you get buffed and then polished, and they're all extra processes that they do after the bristles have been inserted. So yeah, sorry,
that's boring
cool.
And that's why we brought you on, Paul, the toothbrush expert. How would you have approached that if you was all of a sudden on The Apprentice season 16, sat next to Adam, and you was a contestant? What would have been your magic toothbrush idea?
So I'm trying to think when based on their themes. So one of them, the space theme, I immediately thought someone said, "Oh, we should make it the shape of a rocket," and a bunch said, "Oh no, you can't do that. You can't do that." And I thought, actually, that's a really good idea. And then when I watched the Adams video, there was a dragon in there that had wings and stuff, and it was very much more a 3D shape. And I thought, yeah, that would be the way to go with the rocket and everything. But I sort of envisaged something that maybe had a case around it, so it was a bit more of an event taken out of its box. Or it's the lid was a complete, and that was the shape, because you've always got a brush head on top of it.
Yeah.
So that limits how it's going to look. So I always thought that would be the toothbrush body and then a lid which would cover it over, which would make the shape more interesting. Yeah. And that would have worked with the Wi-Fi. If they'd done something like that, they could have then had a nice extended wand feature on the end of it.
I think the Wi-Fi went wrong, where they just went for the handle shape. They really made it kind of an inappropriate shape with that color.
And the finger grips in it as well, didn't
quite long, and the finger grips as well. But yeah, if they'd have actually made it a proper wand, like maybe the end came off, like you said, unclipped, that could have looked more like the Harry Potter style thing.
And years ago, we were doing a toothbrush for Colgate, and they wanted something for kids. And this was in the late 90s, so tech was a little bit different then. But we had this kind of mouth that would sucker onto the mirror.
Yeah.
And the teeth would light up.
Oh, okay,
as they
nice.
went, and that was how you got the kids to sort of chase these teeth around the mouth, to make sure they got everything. And it wasn't, it wasn't a clever thing. It was just a predetermined thing.
I think that's better. I think that hits the target market more in terms of entertaining kids and encouraging them to brush their teeth. Like some of the ideas the contestants came up with were quite kind of time intensive, almost like a laborious task for the kids. When they showed the feedback. Yeah, and the song. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it was entertaining being in the room for that, because we had lists of songs and they were just powering through them, like next one, and then one of the girls was like, "That's the one," and I was like, "I don't think it is, but okay."
I said this the other day, Adam, when we spoke before we recorded the other day. I was looking at how do you actually apply to go on the show. Just I was trying to get an understanding of like, where do these people come from? Like, what's the process? And the questionnaire that you have to fill out is like, it's nothing about business whatsoever. It's, have you had what's your Instagram following? Have you got a degree in journalism? What's your knowledge like of the TV industry? Have you got any friends that work in TV? It's nothing about what's your turnover, what's your net profit, what have you forecast? So I was semi-applying for it just so I could see how far this.
I was going to say, did you press send accidentally?
No, I didn't, because I was a bit like, well, if Alan Sugar, let's say I did went on there and Design Truth gets 250k, I generally wouldn't know what to spend it on. It'd be hopeless. So don't worry, I won't be entering the next season. But it just gives a bit of context, I suppose, to the show that the focus on the applications, it was all about TV. It wasn't so much about your business. And
all the people were really nice as well, off camera as well. Well, I only spoke to the girls' teams, but I didn't speak to the guys. So, and on TV, a lot of them seemed like hard work, to be fair. But the girls are really nice. And that's probably why they won, to be fair.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, and thank you for that spoiler as well. Thank you for that spoiler. If someone's watching it, so come to the end and go, "Oh, the girls have won week 2." So
They wouldn't. They'd have seen the episode.
They'd have seen it.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Paul.
Thank you. No, it was really interesting. Good fun.
And as always, thank you for joining us and helping when things get technical. Win.
Worries.